Ever imagine standing in a truck under the Amazon sun, watching the Xingu River flow by? Knowing that the only way to cross is to wait for hours for a ferry, the engine running, the cargo stopped, time passing by. Now imagine replacing that wait with a direct, continuous, and safe crossing over one of the most strategic bridges in the Brazilian Amazon. That's what's being built on the Trans-Amazonian Highway. The Xingu River Bridge is more than just concrete and cables. It's an investment of over 405 million reais, designed to eliminate a historic bottleneck on the Brazilian Federal Highway 230, linking Anabu to Vitória do Xingu and revolutionizing regional logistics. A supported structure, hundreds of meters long, spans one of the country's most impressive rivers, transforming daily life for residents, producers, and transporters in the Amazon. Stay with us for the next few minutes and find out how the vital connection of the Trans-Amazonian Highway over the Xingu River is being built. The Xingu River Bridge is under construction at kilometer 571 of Brazilian Federal Highway 230, the Trans-Amazonian Highway in the state of Pará. It will be an essential part of the direct connection between the municipalities of Anabu and Vitória do Xingu, replacing the crossing, which today mainly depends on a ferry. The structure will span 700 to 750 meters across a key stretch of the Xingu River. It will be a cable-stayed bridge with 8 spans in total, 4 on the right bank and 4 on the left bank, formed by reinforced concrete pillar and beam portals. All of this will be supported by a deep foundation, designed to withstand the current, changes in river level, and the Amazonian water regime. The project is part of the new park and should directly benefit around 145,000 people, in addition to impacting the entire regional cargo logistics. But this bridge didn't come out of nowhere. It addresses an old problem, experienced daily by those who depend on the Trans-Amazonian Highway. And that's what leads us to the next question. Why has this crossing become urgent now? For years, crossing the Xingu River here meant following the ferry's schedule. Truck drivers report waits of 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours. During periods of heavy rain or when the river is high, this time became even more unpredictable, with crossings interrupted and lines stretching along the highway. Meanwhile, the natural course of the river continued, but life on the riverbank was put on hold. However, this bottleneck affected more than just cargo transporters. It directly interfered with the daily lives of residents, merchants, rural producers, and service providers who depend on the Trans-Amazonian Highway to work, study, or access healthcare and supplies. The slow crossing gradually became an invisible brake on regional development. The Trans-Amazonian Highway, designed to integrate the national territory and connect the Amazon interior, ended up being interrupted, right at one of its most symbolic points. A paradox. A highway spans a continent but is stopped by a bridgeless river. Technical studies and demands followed one after another until the crossing stopped being just a local problem and started to be treated as a strategic obstacle. In 2022, this turning point finally happened. The service order was signed and the construction of the Xingu Bridge officially began. In the following years, it joined the federal investment package, which includes measures for the new park. The proposal is straightforward: eliminate dependence on ferries, drastically reduce crossing time, and create a continuous, safe, and permanent connection between Anapu and Vitória do Xingu. Now that we understand the reason, the inevitable question arises: what is the current status of this project, and how do you build a cable-stayed bridge of this size in the middle of the Amazon? Today, the Xingu Bridge has clearly shifted from promises to the stage where engineering shapes the landscape. According to the National Department of Transport Infrastructure, DENIT, the project has already surpassed 50% physical completion. As of this video's completion in January 2026, this milestone doesn't just represent a number, but the overcoming of the most critical and invisible stages of any bridge over a major Amazonian river. Now, speaking exclusively about construction, Before any pillar appeared above the water, the work began at the most sensitive point of the project, the underground of the Xingu. The deep foundations were fully executed, and each pile was designed to cross unstable layers of sediment until reaching levels capable of supporting permanent and variable loads. It's a type of engineering that requires precise soil analysis, strict execution control, and constant adaptation to the river's conditions, which behaves differently throughout the year. With the piles completed, the foundation blocks came into play, true concrete masses responsible for evenly distributing the loads from the superstructure. These blocks were shaped to withstand not only the weight of the bridge itself, but also the forces of the current, the variation in the river level, and the dynamic loads from heavy traffic. Only after this foundation was fully consolidated was it possible to advance vertically. The main pillars began to rise simultaneously on both banks of the Xingu, a coordinated advance that required precise logistics, a continuous supply of concrete, and team synchronization. Each pillar was built with strict geometric control because any millimetric deviation at this stage would compromise the structural behavior of the cable-stayed system. With that, the project's infrastructure was completed, marking a turning point in the schedule. From then, the bridge began to take shape on the horizon. Currently, the project is in the mesostructure and superstructure phase, where the construction stops being just a foundation and starts to become a crossing. The work fronts are focused on building the decks, the longitudinal beams, and especially the cable-stayed masts, which serve as the structural axis of the entire bridge. Some decks have been reinforced and concreted, demonstrating the platform's progress toward eventually supporting Brazilian Federal Highway 230 traffic. This process takes place in carefully planned stages, respecting the concrete curing times, the sequence of protection, and temporary structural balance. Choosing the cable-stayed system is intentional. It's worth noting that cable-stayed bridges, like the one being built over the Xingu, allow for spanning large distances with fewer supports in the riverbed. This reduces environmental impacts, hydraulic infrastructure, and risks. During floods, the cables mainly work under tension, connecting the deck to the pylons, and efficiently and safely redistributing forces. Each pylon is constructed in phases with continuous technical supervision. The verticality, alignment, and strength of the concrete are monitored in real time, as these elements will bear a significant portion of the permanent loads of the structure. Construction occurs at the same time on both riverbanks. This concept of mirrored construction sites helps speed up the schedule, but it requires complex logistics. Nothing arrives easily at the site. Materials, equipment, and teams depend on precise planning to overcome distances, unstable weather, and limited access. In fact, the Amazon environment poses great challenges. The high humidity requires extra care, with formwork, reinforcement, and concreting. The rain, sometimes intense and sudden, forces constant adjustments to the pace of the construction. Even so, the concreting continues, with delivery scheduled for the end of 2020. In the coming months, the focus remains on the schedule for the cable-stayed decks, on the final concreting of the pylons, and on preparing the structure for the subsequent stages. Paving, drainage systems, signage, and road safety devices. With each advancement, the bridge ceases to be just a project under construction and gradually becomes a new axis of regional integration. Journal. To grasp the true size of the Xingu Bridge, technical figures must be put into relatable terms. The investment of 5.6 million Rs may sound abstract at first, but it is equivalent, for example, to the purchase of approximately 5,500 popular cars. Brand new? It's like putting an entire fleet of new cars over the river every day just to eliminate a single logistical bottleneck. If that same amount were invested in heavy urban transportation, it would be enough to finance a few kilometers of subway, depending on the context and the standard of the project. Undeniably, the investment in the Xingu Bridge was concentrated on a single crossing, precisely because the impact of the savings at this point multiplies over hundreds of kilometers, along the Trans-Amazonian Highway. In physical terms, the 700 to 750 meters of the bridge correspond to about 7 soccer fields, placed one after another, suspended over one of the Amazon's widest rivers. In other words, it's not a short or symbolic crossing. It's a structure designed to be seen, used, and felt. But the strongest comparison isn't about the money, nor about the length. Today, crossing by ferry can take 2, 3, or even 4 hours during periods of heavy traffic or when the river is high. With the bridge completed, that time will be reduced to just a few minutes. A continuous and predictable route, less waiting time for truck drivers, deadlines met for businesses, an easier life for residents, for those who live in the region, and constant access to services, healthcare, and opportunities. While other large bridges shorten the distance between riverbanks, the Xingu Bridge shortens something even more valuable: lost time. In the Amazon, time equals development. Thank you. Set to be completed by late 2026, the Xingu Bridge will remove one of the last major bottlenecks on the Brazilian Federal Highway, 230 in Pará. The effect will be immediate: reduced logistics costs, greater predictability in transportation, and strengthening of the regional economy. According to the National Department of Transport Infrastructure, about 145,000 people will benefit directly, in addition to producers, transporters, and services that depend on the Trans-Amazonian Highway. The replacement of ferries also increases safety, reduces operational risks, and ensures continuous operation even during flood periods. More than a river crossing, the bridge strengthens a regional integration axis in the Amazon. The Xingu Bridge is neither symbolic nor a vanity project. It is a technical response to a real problem, built with method, planning, and engineering applied to the territory. By eliminating the ferry crossing, the bridge shortens distances, develops time, and creates continuity where there used to be waiting. In the Amazon, connecting riverbanks is more than just crossing a river. It's about integrating entire regions with concrete, steel, and determination. Thanks for watching until the end. What do you think of the impressive Xingu Bridge? It's a key project for the region, right? Share your thoughts in the comments. After all, bridges shorten distances, connect people, and help develop regions. I'll stop here for now. A big hug and see you in the next video.